Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Phil Swan. I'm one of the business development managers here within the Continuing Professional Development Unit at Cardiff University. So welcome to the 6th session of the second week of our spring online school organised by the CPD unit. It's great to have so many of you joining us today. We've had really good registrations for this session. Just while we wait for the last few people to arrive, I'll just run through some housekeeping with you for this session. So if you have any technical problems, any sound problems, anything of that nature, please feel free just to drop us a message using the chat feature of the Zoom call. Either myself or my colleague Jessica we'll pick that up and try and help you the best way we can. If your signal drops out, if your Wi-Fi drops out, conscious we're all probably working from home at the moment. So if your signal drops out, please just reuse the link that we sent you to readmit yourself back onto the session. You won't be interrupting the flow of the session or anything like that. We'll be able to just let you in from the side. We are going to be doing a questions and answers at the end of the session. So throughout, as the session goes on, please feel free to use the Q&A box at the bottom and post your questions to Maneesh, and we'll do our best to answer those at sort of the last 5–10 minutes of the session. The session is going to be recorded and we're going to be uploading the videos onto our CPD unit YouTube channel, where we've also got a back catalogue of previous sessions from this spring online school and also the summer virtual school that we ran last year as well. So that's well worth having a look at. There's quite a range of different topics on there, and we'll send you the link for that after this session. So I think that's enough from me. Thanks. I think everyone's arrived that needs to now. I'll hand over to our fantastic speaker, Professor Maneesh Kumar. Thanks very much, Maneesh.
Thank you, Phil, for the introduction. Let me just share my screen. Can you all see the screen? Phil, if you can confirm.
Yes, we can see it, yeah.
Lovely, that's great, good. So, welcome to the seminar series, Lean 4.0, Lean in the Era of Industry 4.0. What an apt occasion. This is truly lean. We all are in the virtual world. You are attending at the other end. I am on this end. We can still interact. You saved the time to travel to Cardiff Business School. You're saving the environment in many ways. This is what lean is all about. So this brief introduction will be all about lean when combined with technology, which we call these days Industry 4.0, how it can be effective and can help your organization improve your profitability, efficiency, effectiveness, customer service. A brief introduction to Lean 4.0. Before going into the topic, I'd just like to briefly introduce myself. I have joined Cardiff University in 2011. was in Edinburgh Napier University from 2008 to 2011. And the reason for joining Cardiff University was this rich history in lean. Cardiff University is one of the originators of lean. So Professor Daniel Jones, he comes from Cardiff University when the lean originated. And since then, I have been here in Cardiff. My research, mostly I engage with lots of companies, as you can see here in the list, all sorts of company, private company, public sector, small companies, large companies, all across the globe. These are some of the companies I am currently engaging here in UK, or more particularly, you can say here in Wales. And most of these engagement with these companies have been in the area of either Lean, Six Sigma. I like to call them operational excellence rather than Lean and Six Sigma. And then combined with how Lean and Six Sigma can promote innovation, how Lean and Six Sigma can be integrated with Industry 4.0. And recently, I've been engaging into also high reliability organizations, how organizations can perform without error on a long-term basis. So that's very interesting. And there's lots of similarities between HRO, high reliability organization, Industry 4.0, Lean and Six Sigma. So while doing my research with these companies, I also engage with other departments across the university, which involves School of Engineering for projects linked to Industry 4.0, School of Computing, again for projects linked to Industry 4.0. And I'm working very closely with Cardiff and Vale University Health Board, currently helping in the A&E department, looking into the COVID patients and how they are being admitted. So very close collaboration with Cardiff and Vale University Health Board, and also School of Medicine here in Cardiff University. And in the last 10 years, I've also worked closely with NHS, but one organization which has helped me to learn quite a lot about lean is right here, Toyota. Learned quite a lot about lean, which is not written in the book, while visiting Toyota in Japan, in India, in UK, and still this is progressing. And lean, lots of people have talked about, we have heard negative connotation about lean in the last 1 year, especially since the lockdown. And they have said that lean doesn't work in an environment which is dynamic, which is changing. Let's dispel some of these misconceptions that we have got. And in the next 45 minutes to an hour, I will try to dispel some of those myths and to show you how lean can work in different scenarios. It needs to be tailored, it needs to be customized, but it can work in all scenarios. Okay, so what is lean? I'm not sure how my audience knowledge is on lean, what is their thinking about lean, what is their maturity about lean. So may I request you all to go on this website called www.menti.com and enter the code 7004 8658. 8658. So there's no space between 7004 and 8658. It's all 8-digit numbers. So menti.com and the code is 7004 8658. It's an open-ended question, and there are 3 keywords you can use to describe lean. If you are not aware of lean, if you have not attended any training program, or if you have not applied lean before, you can also put as one of the option, don't know. Okay, so let me take you to this question. What is lean? So go to menti.com. Can you all see my screen? Yep, don't know. I hope that's not the majority there. Good. It's changing, streamlining, respect for people, simplifying processes, create value, efficiency. Great, we have received response from 6 people. If you can have few more responses, there are more than 30 in the room. So if you can receive responses for a few more, and then we'll try to move on. I just want to make sure I pitch this webinar at the right level. Reduce waste, efficiency, continuous improvement, create value. And this is the response from 12 people here in the room. Those who have not joined, menti.com, and the code is 7004 8658. Yes, lean is about reducing waste. It's a good start. It's good that you have identified efficiency is one of the focus of lean. It's all about streamlining the processes and creating value from customer perspective. Things are changing now. Still, efficiency, reducing waste, and streamlining is the top three keywords people have used to define lean. So the first message here is, I think when some of you posted that information, there was an element which was respect for people. It's now hidden somewhere in this wordle, and the respect for people is, I can see it's right at the bottom here, somewhere here, but it's all about reducing waste, improving efficiency, streamlining processes. To me, this was lean when lean originated in 90s. This was the focus of lean, to reduce waste, to improve efficiency. And if an organization embark on a lean journey with this focus, based on my experience of engaging with many companies, and my colleague here, Sarah, is also here. She is also engaged with many companies. We do feel that it's a wrong start or a false foot, you can say, if you start. Whereas if it is about understanding the value from customer perspective, what matters most to my customer, which is right here, it's about respect for people, the employees, as well as the customer. So lots of lean focus in the last 3 decades have been on the hard practices, which is about tools and techniques, do 5S, do value stream mapping, do process mapping, and improve efficiency, reduce waste, streamline processes, and less on the softer side, which is a respect for people, creating value. And that's where the difference between the true lean culture and culture or the lean which is focused only on efficiency improvement. Thanks for participating. So lean is much more than reducing waste, improving efficiency, and streamlining processes. Lean is not just about having minimum inventory. It's much more than that. Starts with identifying value from the customer perspective, engaging with your supply chain, developing long-term relationship with your supply chain partners, both including customers and suppliers. So it's much more than just reducing waste and efficiency. I hope it helps you to see the difference between the true lean and what people focuses on. So yes, it is about delighting customer. As majority of you said, it's about efficiency, which means constant pursuit of time compression and scientific approach to work. You constantly do plan, do check, act cycle, and in that way you try to compress the time. And you create a culture of continuous improvement. And that's something which sometimes organization misses. How do you create a culture of continuous improvement? Just by doing few pockets of projects here and there in the organization, or empowering your workforce, giving them skills, giving them capabilities to do improvement on the daily basis? How do you create that intrinsic motivation in your employees so that they walk into the organization, they feel that continuous improvement is part of my responsibility? Nobody is watching your employees to do continuous improvement. That's the culture we are talking about. When failure happens, you share the failure. You learn from the failure rather than hide failure. And that's the culture of continuous improvement. That's true lean to us. But how many organizations are like that? So lean has got the element of technical side, but it has also got the element of socio side, which is equally important. The 5 principles of lean, as I said before, it started in Cardiff University. One of the originators of lean is Cardiff University, along with Jim Womack at MIT. And the principles of lean, as you have already said in that Menti, it's about relentless pursuit of waste reduction. But if in doing that, many of us forget the first principle of lean, which is understanding what our customer needs, what our customer values. And these customer could be internal within your organization, it could be in the healthcare setting, the clinicians, they could be the customers, or it could be the pathology department, they could be the suppliers. So understanding that relationship between internal customers and suppliers are equally important, not just focusing on the external customers and suppliers. And then once you understand what matters most to the customer, you identify you map the entire process from start to finish. And this may cut across your organizational boundaries. And when it happens, it cuts across your organizational boundaries. Make sure you involve those people from those different functions to get involved in the lean project. That's the second lean principle. Make the product flow, which means waiting time between process is zero. Patient doesn't have to wait to see the doctor for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. They walk into the reception and they get to see the doctor. But that is the ideal state. It's not always possible to achieve that ideal state, especially in public sector, in service industries. If that is the scenario, then in manufacturing, this principle may work very well. You only produce when customer require, which means you minimize your inventory, you don't stock in your warehouse, you only produce when the customer require. So that's in terms of the lean principle, you minimize your inventory, you apply just-in-time principle to only produce items when the customer require. But how do you apply this in the service world? It becomes challenging to do in the service world because you can't build in inventory in the service industry or in public sector, like in NHS. So you have to use different capacity management, demand management strategy to deal with that. Later on, I will come in to show how some of the Industry 4.0 technologies may help to achieve the concept of pull in service and public sector. And last, we never stop. Quality is a continuous improvement journey. We never stop. So lean is a continuous improvement journey. Once you have improved it, that becomes your current state. You need to further improve. So these are the 5 lean principles. So yes, when we talk about lean is not a single event. It's a journey that never ends. And this today webinar is not about just lean, it's lean 4.0. So I can't go through the basics in detail. I'll just quickly flick through some of these slides and then we come to exactly what lean 4.0 means. So what is value? Anything which customer is willing to pay for, any activity that increase market forms or functions of product or service. And the most important thing, the activity must be done right first time. For example, patient receiving treatment in the healthcare, the MRI scan report used by physicians to provide treatment. In NHS, there was an initiative called GRIFT initiatives, where get it right first time. And the whole focus was how do we treat our patient right first time? And that is value added. Then there are support functions within the organization, which are called business non-value added functions. And these functions, the business non-value added functions they are the support functions in the organizations, and they are required for the core function to work. And that's what the idea is, to make sure these support functions in the organization, you try to minimize waste from these support functions. These could be HR processes, IT processes, finance processes within the workplace. Sometimes we focus too much on our core processes and we forget the support processes. And these processes are becoming more and more important in the current era of digitization. To me, one function which is more important is this HR function here. They are going to play a big role in the era of digitization. They need to work very closely with people from operations at the shop floor to understand the skills requirement in the era of digitization industry 4.0, and accordingly make changes to their training packages, skills matrix. They play a big role. And the rest of the activity is non-value added activity. So, and those non-value added activities are waste, anything which does not add market form or function or is not necessary. Those are called waste activities. So when you walk into any organization, you're bound to see some of these wastes within the workplace. And let me just show you this. So what are these waste? Order processing, transport, storage, waiting, rework, machine setup, inspection, machine breakdown, etc. So these are the different forms of waste that exist in any organization, and you need to make sure these wastes are tackled by applying the lean tool. The beauty of Industry 4.0, which I will discuss later, is it will make these wastes visible. The one in the red box you can see here, you can see the Industry 4.0 tools will make these wastes more visible so that you can reduce it. But one worrying factor which is still there is majority of the time that you are spending within your workplace. It may be 9 to 5, you are working on 9 to 6. In this current lockdown, there's no time, we are working quite a lot. There's no more concept of 8 hours or 9 hours. But the question is how much of our time is spent in the value added activity. And surprisingly enough, if you look into the amount of time you spend on value added activity, it accounts to 95% of the total lead time, as the research says, is spent on non-value added activity. And only 5% of the time you spend on the value added activity. It's shocking. And guys, when you do the mapping exercise within your workplace, you can 95% is on the higher side. In some cases, it is 99% of the things that you are doing is waste. What are these wastes? And how much of time you are spending on these wastes? So let me just quickly go through these 8 forms of waste that you see in any organization. Transportation, an easy way to remember them is an acronym called TIMWOODS, which is waste of transportation when you have to move files, when you have to move patients, when you have to move customers, or when you have to move raw materials. That's waste of transportation. Then comes the inventory. Again, inventory is not only the raw material inventory, it could be the inventory of patients or customers or information that you are holding between different stages of the process. Motion is to do with the movement of employees working in the organization. Waiting is a classic form of waste you see in any organization, waiting between the processes, waiting customer or information, waiting to be serviced or worked on. Another classic form of waste is overproduction, producing more information or services than is needed or sooner than is needed by customers. Sometimes in an organization, you have been tasked to produce a report by your senior manager. You spend a lot of time producing a 100-page report and nobody reads it. So from your perspective, you have spent a lot of time. That's a value added from your perspective, but from the whole business perspective, that becomes a non-value added activity. And your manager asks that you just give me a 1-page report that summarizes the whole thing. It's too challenging, the amount of time you have spent on producing this document. Same thing, we spent a lot of time in organization in extra processing. You have not got things right first time, you rework, you require multiple signatures, re-entering data, excessive reviews at each stages of the process that delays the whole thing. Then comes the defect, which is another form of waste. Any activity that is performed to correct an error. So if you don't get it right first time, you have got defect. And the last form of waste is underutilized skills, not using people's full skills and abilities. So I recap, because there will be a short exercise after this slide. I will show you a video and there will be a short exercise which you guys have to respond to. So do remember these TIMWOODS. Transportation is to do with the movement of customers, raw material, information in different industries. Inventory is Raw material inventory, motion is to do with the movement of people. Waiting is waiting between the process, waiting at the end of the line. Overproduction is just in case thinking, you're producing more than what is required. Extra processing is excessive reviews, hands off, multiple signatures. Those are the examples of extra processing that happens almost in every industry. Defect is when you don't get things right first time. Okay, so presto. During the lockdown, I was involved in a global research with more than 600 companies since last March, trying to look into what were the different innovations that were pushed in the COVID period and how organizations pivoted quickly, how lean enabled them to be more responsive, to be more agile, how different innovations that may not belong to one particular industry or sector, that learning could be applied to other sector. That's what I've been doing. So I've got more than 600 examples from different industries all across the globe. This is just one example I'm going to share you here, which makes you think how the same concept can be applied to a different setting. Could be, for example, in the healthcare setting, the similar concept. How do you develop it? So this, it's not a rocket science. It was there before COVID started. Presto, the CEO Raj Suri, he was a student at MIT doing PhD, and one day he and his friends they were sitting and thinking about why it takes so long in the restaurants to get the order processed, and in many occasions they get it wrong. How you can streamline the processes? He decided to leave MIT and he joined one of the restaurant as a waiter to understand the whole process. And from there, he developed this contactless dining kit. So it was not an invention during the COVID time. It was an invention before the COVID time, which was used by thousands of restaurants in US and globally to place their order, which is contactless menu, contactless order, and contactless payment. By doing this, they not only helped restaurants to sell during the COVID time, improve their profitability, keep their workers in the job, but it also helped their customers. When they walked into the restaurant, they will feel more safe because instead of a waiter walking into the restaurant, whether it is a fine dining restaurant or it's a normal restaurant, instead of waiter walking in, there's a contactless tab where you can go. All those are cleaned, wiped, sanitized, and you can customize your orders. Just like when you walk into a hotel, you have got your account. If you visit to the restaurant regularly, you may have your account, so you can choose your favorite orders. Let me show you a video, and from there we'll do a short exercise. Okay, here is a video. Let me just make the screen a bit larger.
Ahead of reopening, Presto is the king of contactless dining technology. Their system allows guests to order in a socially distant way that involves zero contact with servers who keep their distance. Presto is the brainchild of Raj Suri, who joins us in a Fox Business exclusive. Raj, you founded it, you're the head of it. Walk us through how your technology works beyond the ordering off the tablet menu, and that really the ones that we've seen in larger airports these days.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Liz. The way it works is that a guest can go into one of these restaurants and they have a tablet in front of them that they can use to browse the menu. They can use to place orders, modify the order however they like it, send the order to the kitchen, and and then wait for their food to come. The food will come, relatively quickly right after hitting send. In fact, it's actually one of the fastest way to send an order. And then when they're done eating, they can pay whenever they want, dip a card, tap their phones, and then fill out their email address for a receipt and fill out a survey talking about how their experience was. So that's one of our products with a tablet on the table. And then we have another one which uses the guest's own mobile phone to order and pay, scanning a QR code. So we have multiple different ways to help restaurants take contactless orders and payments.
Okay, okay. Talk about some of these restaurant chains. So Chili's are already using it, Applebee's. Do they tell you that there is going to be what they anticipate an extreme demand for people who don't want to touch anything? And to that end, Raj, I'm looking at a tablet that everybody's touching. I mean, is there a whole built-in system of keeping them clean?
Absolutely. I mean, the tablet actually is disinfected in front of a guest before use of before every party sits down. So it's fully wiped down and clean. In fact, it's probably one of the cleanest surfaces there in the restaurant. And having a tablet on the table means that you don't need to handle a menu. That could be a lot more at risk of carrying germs. So the tablet is probably the cleanest surface possible, and it also prevents the need to share your credit card with a staff member, which obviously no one wants to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that you always wonder, oh, I got this far, and then you hand over the credit card, and the next thing you know, you're wondering about germs on that. But you founded this when you were a student at MIT back in 2008, long before the coronavirus. What was the driver back then? What made you think, oh, we need this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just wanted to solve my own problems, which was, I always felt that restaurant experiences could be way better. I had the idea when I was sitting around a table trying to split a check between myself and a bunch of other MIT engineers, and we just struggled to do it. It was so hard for a bunch of MIT engineers that it became a bad joke. How many of us does it take to get this right? And we've all been there, right? Some people have cash, some people have credit card, some people get the expensive stuff, some people get the cheap stuff, and the tips are often quite complicated. And we were struggling with it so much that I decided right there and then that I'm going to drop out of school and start a company. And so I actually took a job as a waiter to understand how the business worked. And 12 years later, here we are, where we're in several thousand restaurants around the country, and having grown tremendously, we tripled last year. We're in this time, in this really difficult time for restaurants, we're just glad to be able to help them out with a free contactless kit, so that they can help their own guests and staff stay safe in the pandemic.
Yeah. I love that you took a job as a waiter. That is amazing, so that you could really see what the issues were and work it through. Give me a sense about higher end restaurants. I mean, it doesn't seem very, as they would say, very classy, darling, to hand over a tablet when you're used to a waiter wearing a very nice outfit and saying, well, let me just tell you what is the ingredients within this lovely bouillabaisse. I mean, are you hearing from the higher end companies who want to sign up with you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of demand from higher end companies. And one of the reasons is because their staff members now have to wear masks. And if your staff member have to wear masks, it's just hard to build that connection with the staff member. And guests actually want a different path to be able to get great food and get in and get out as fast as possible, which is actually in the restaurant's interest as well, because a lot of them are operating in capacity restrictions.
Yeah. Okay, I will stop here. And what you have to do, you have to go back to Menti again. So if you go back to Menti, let me just shrink this. Yep. And I've got a question for you. Which forms of lean waste is tackled by Presto's contactless dining kit? So again, go to menti.com if you're already there and use the code 70048658. 70048658. Transportation is to do with the movement of customer. Motion is to do with the movement of employee. Inventory, as you know, work in process inventory, raw material inventory, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, defects, and there are multiple choice. It's a multiple choice question. You can choose multiple options. Few more responses and we'll discuss. Okay. Waiting has been tackled. Motion has been tackled, which is employees movement. Interesting, good. Over processing, you have cut down as a result of this digital kit. And defects have been cut down, you think, which is another, the fourth one in the list. Is there any other you can think of? Okay, yeah, the prominent four is waste of motion, which is the movement of the waiters in the restaurant. They are not moving. So the customers, they are ordering the kit using that contactless kit. They're ordering their food. Waiting has been reduced significantly because this kit is synchronized to the kitchen. In the kitchen, in real time, they receive the orders. And if you are the customer coming to this restaurant, again, you are a repeat customer, you have got your account, you can also customize it. This is what you need, the taste in the chicken tikka masala. This is what the taste you need. And they will customize it accordingly. As a result of this, it has reduced the waiting time. It has made the whole process more visible, isn't it, guys? Initially, you were not sure, you have ordered when the order would arrive. On that tab, you get to understand, just like you do in Domino's, when your orders are going to arrive at your desk. The moment you request for a drink, you have just added drink to your menu, quickly the drink will come. So at the same time, it has helped your employee to work in a safe environment. They have got less interaction with your customers. So more or less, this simple digital solution, which Raj Suri found back in 2008 and 9, was applied in the COVID time, and it tackled a lot of these different forms of lean waste. Interestingly, Raj Suri said, in order to develop the solution, he worked in the restaurant as a waiter. And that's something very interesting, a characteristics which you can identify through this video about leadership. When you walk into the Toyota plant, the leaders who have gone up the ladders, they have all made their hands dirty on the shop floor. They understand how the process works. So when they take those operational decisions in the boardroom, they are connected to the ground reality. So in the Lean 4.0 world, when you are thinking of digitizing some of these processes, you have to make sure, first of all, you understand your current operating condition and whether those current operating conditions are the optimal one or not. Because if you digitize, if you replace a manual process with a digital process, but if the manual process itself has got lots of these waste of motion, waiting, overproduction, overprocessing, how good would be your digital solution? So be mindful when you are embarking on your Lean 4.0 journey. Yes, you need to combine Lean with some of the digital technologies to eliminate waste, to make these waste more visible. But at the same time, you have to make sure the processes you are going to digitize are streamlined in the first place, are aligned with the voice of the customer, is aligned with what matters most to your customer. It could be internal customer or it could be external customer. Okay, let's go back to this slide. So lean, if you talk about lean works, lean is very good. It works very well in which environment? When you are doing high volume operation. So when you are in a high volume operation, which is this end of the continuum, low variety, low variation in demand, you can predict your demand, and interaction with your customer is very low. So high volume, low variety, low variation, and low visibility. In the past, organizations have struggled to implement lean in environment which is low volume, high variety, high variation, high visibility. Examples of this organization: construction industry, healthcare, law firms, consulting profession, where you are working on the low volume, but high variety, high variation in demand, and high visibility. In the past, it was assumed that if you are working on this side of the continuum, I'm just trying to use this. So if you are on this side of the continuum, your cost of operation would be very high, like lawyers, consultants, or the consultants in healthcare, very expensive. So if you are operating in this mode of operation, whereas lean was always said to be good in when you have got high volume, low variety, low variation, and low visibility. This is where lean works very well. This is the lean continuum. But what these digital technologies have done, it has helped you to move from this end of the continuum to this end of the continuum. You can be low volume, you can be high variety, you can still be low cost of operation. It's not necessary that you are high volume, low variety, then only you can be low cost of operations. I will give you some examples, but let's start with construction industry. You may have seen a building that has come up in the city center next to Admiral, that student accommodation, the red one. How quickly it came up. In the past, you can think of some of these buildings would take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Now, in less than a year, you get most of these buildings up and running. It's the same concept. A lot of these buildings from the first floor to the top floor, they are very much standardized. Each floor look exactly the same. So what they do off-site fabrication. And then they bring it on-site, those small modules, and they just do the assembly. Just like what happens in the car manufacturing. We were involved in a highway in England project where we looked into how construction industry can apply the concept of manufacturing industry, especially those done in automotive industry, to a project-based environment, which is very low volume, high variety. It works there. Same thing, Arvind Eye Clinic in India, one of the famous Harvard case study. They conduct cataract operation. And they learned from automotive industry. They learned from how McDonald's operate. And they conduct cataract surgery just like a car is produced in the assembly line. They follow the assembly line concept of production in the healthcare setting. And surprisingly, you will say that what are the matrix linked to safety there? How whether every time they are doing it right first time. So comparison was done with in terms of cost of operation. So their cost to conduct a cataract surgery is less than $50, whereas in US it is $3,000 and very expensive here in UK as well. In terms of safety, they are 27% higher in terms of safety performance compared to UK NHS. So the idea is we need to look outside the box to see what is happening in other industry and if we can customize it to our own needs. If you can do that, it will lead to innovation. It can help you. Let me just clear this off and then we'll move on to the next slide. And I gave you an example of another company, Adidas. If you look into Adidas, Speed Factory, Adidas shoes are very expensive as well, just like Nike, Adidas, they are expensive. So they thought of, again, how they apply the concept used in other industries, in manufacturing especially, to produce the customized shoes, which is basically low volume, high variety instead of high volume, low variety, and still be cost efficient, still be productive. So they combined some of the digital technologies, including 3D printing, including robotics. And they started manufacturing because People in US, they are different size than people in Asia, than people in Europe. And they are now customizing the shoes based on the individual requirements, based on the individual country requirement, and still their cost of operation is low. Are you combining with these digital technology? So another learning from this webinar for you would be, when you go back to your organization, think about your processes, which are high, low, especially high volume, low variety. And can those processes be standardized? In law firms, we are seeing like conveyancing operation, they are very much standardized when you are buying houses. So some of the law firms have started using AI machine learning to automate some of those paperwork process, because those are very standardized. So in your organization, go back to your drawing boards, look into the operations which are high volume and low variety, and think about how some of the digital tools can help you to automate, digitize those processes. Recently, I called Sky. I'm one of the Sky customers, and I was having some problem with my Wi-Fi. Instead of talking to an agent, there was a chatbot, and that chatbot basically took me through the whole process. So they were using the concept, what we call robotic process automation, RPA. They what they did, they mapped exactly the whole process from start to finish. They streamlined the whole process and they automated the whole process. So as a customer, they understood what customer requires and what are the different steps in the process to resolve a Wi-Fi related query. If there is a Wi-Fi issue, how you resolve it. And they mapped the process right. So I didn't have to talk to any of the agent. This chatbot itself resolved all my queries. And that's where I'm suggesting this basic 4 V's of operations can help you to think about where you can think about automating your processes. So here comes Industry 4.0. Briefly, let me talk about, so what is Industry 4.0? To me, it is not new, because lots of tools and techniques within Industry 4.0 was already there in 90s or early 2000. It has been repackaged together. Just like Six Sigma originated in 1980s, but the tools within Six Sigma was there right from 20s and 30s. So what is this Industry 4.0? It is the shift towards an autonomous, dynamic, decentralized, and self-regulating production approach enabled by a variety of technologies to meet the future production requirements. It looks complicated. Yes, indeed it is. But so what does it encounter? What does it include? These are the different tools or technologies within Industry 4.0 toolbox. But this list will grow, guys. This is just but based on Boston Consulting Group. This was 2018-19, but this group, this list is increasing. It doesn't matter how many tools more get added to this list, but the key bit of Industry 4.0 is it helps to do vertical integration within your organization and a horizontal integration with your supply chain, both the customers and suppliers. And these are the different tools: robotics, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, simulation, IoT, cloud, cyber security, big data, and analytics. And all these tools from here to here, they are helping the organization in terms of horizontal and vertical integration, so that communication improves between different parties, integration improves between different functions. As a result of this, you are tackling teamwork, you are improving speed of the organization, you are improving agility of the organization. A lot of those decisions using big data and analytics, using Internet of Things, using augmented reality, you're collecting those data fairly quickly and you can take those decisions in real time. And that's what Lean 4.0, that's what Lean 4.0 is all about. How do you integrate some of the Industry 4.0 technologies with the 5 principles of Lean or with the Lean tools and techniques? The research has shown both Industry 4.0 on its own and Lean on its own can help in improving productivity, flexibility. It helps to reduce complexity. So their goals are quite similar. So the idea is there should not be different teams, one team leading Industry 4.0 in your organization and another team leading Lean, another team leading Agile in your organization. These teams should be working together because the goals are quite similar. Don't forget one thing, in our research in the last 4 to 5 years on Lean and Industry 4.0, I published quite a lot in the last few years in this area by working with several companies. And I still believe this employee plays a central role in the era of digitization. You can't replace employees. Yes, their roles will be different. There will be a thin line between a blue collar worker and a white collar worker. And that's why I said before, HR plays a big role here. They can make an organization more proactive by understanding the skill sets required in the era of Industry 4.0, accordingly changing the training programs, accordingly changing the skills matrix for each employee working in the organization. You saw during the COVID lockdown, again, classic example, the ventilator challenge UK, where 30 companies, more than 30 companies came together to deliver ventilators for UK NHS. That was a classic example where lots of learning were accelerated. The learnings which could have been done in 6 months were done in few weeks. How? Through the use of some of these digital technologies called augmented reality. AR is going to change the way we do trainings in organization. In Toyota, we talk on the job training and off the job training, how AR can help to combine both the things together to learn on the job itself, which was seen during the UK ventilator challenge, where these companies, they didn't have a clue about producing ventilator, but these employees, they were given the AR glasses, and through that, they got connected with the experts globally, and they learned on the job itself how to produce a ventilator. Such an accelerated learning that happened. So these technologies, if you use it properly, can help you to improve the efficiency of your processes. But at the same time, you have to be mindful. Industry 4.0 doesn't mean that you have to just replace all your manual processes with the digital technology. Let me give you a quick example from one of the projects that we were involved at Heathrow Airport. And then I will stop and I will give you a time to go through some of the questions. So, as I said before, Bill Gates say the first rule of any technology used in business is automation applied to an efficient operation will magnify the efficiency. But if you apply the automation to an inefficient operation, it will magnify the inefficiency, basically garbage in, garbage out. So make sure you streamline your processes before you start thinking about digitization. Let me give you a quick example. So this is a project with Siemens. Sorry, what happened? Okay. Maybe I will park it for a while. Let me go through this example. So I've been involved with Siemens on this project. They were leading this project. One of the Siemens logistics senior engineer, he was one of the PhD student of mine, and he was working on this project at Heathrow Airport. When you check in your luggage, the luggage goes through the internal baggage handling system. And in the Heathrow terminal, all the 5 terminals are connected with one tunnel. And in that baggage handling system, if the tracks, there's a track inside the tunnel, your luggage get loaded on a cart, and that cart has got 2 wheels, and those wheels are mounted on the rail, and that moves at a high speed. If any of those carts break down inside the tunnel, you will not get your luggage at the other end. In the past, the maintenance team at Heathrow used to do planned maintenance. What they will do, they will take out all these 25,000 carts, 2,500 carts. They will replace those wheels because it's the wheels which can break and can cause the disruption. There was no question asked whether those wheels require replacement in the first place. So you are adding additional maintenance cost. Even by doing that, there's no guarantee that your cart will not break down inside the tunnel. So what, with the involvement of Siemens there, They looked into how they can measure the vibration of the carts that is passing through the tunnel, and how that can help in identifying or in predicting that this particular cart out of 2500 cart is going to break remotely. So they looked into solutions. We are also involved. They look into solutions in other industry, how in oil and gas predictive maintenance condition-based monitoring principles are being applied. And one solution was, could we put carts on both the wheels? Could we put sensors on both the wheels? But if you put sensors on both the wheels, there are 2500 carts. Think about the operational cost. So the idea was, how do we frugally innovate this process? We do not put sensors across all the carts, but still enable high reliability in this operation. So what was done? So this is the paper that we have published as a result of this. You can see this is the inside terminal, and this is the yellow one is the cart. It has got two wheels, left and right wheels, and this is your luggage. And it's going at a speed of 7.5 meters per second. And if any of those cart breaks, the whole tunnel will stop, and you will not get the luggage at the other end. It's a huge penalty cost for the airport authority and for the airline operators. So what we thought of, instead of putting it on the sensors on the wheels, we installed 7 stations across the whole terminal, and every cart had the RFID code. So when they crossed those stations, the right wheel and the left wheel, they were emanating vibration. And based on the rule of thumb, any of those wheels which are emanating vibration of more than 60 decibels is an indication that that particular cart or that particular wheel need to be replaced. So you don't have to worry about the wheels. So each of these are a data point. So we were using the concept big data analytics, IoT, remote capturing of these data in the cloud, and through the cloud, this graph was created for each of the wheels. And the wheels which were in this zone required replacement. This solution was implemented back in 2018. In the last 2 years, not a single cart has failed. Now they only replace the cart when they look into this graph. So that you can see from here, the role of maintenance has changed completely. Previously, what was the role of maintenance? Pull out the cart, replace the wheels, and put it back. That is what the maintenance were doing. But what is the new role of maintenance? They were trained how to interpret this graph, which they were not before. So their role has changed. Now, instead of spending more time in the tunnel, they are spending more time in the room, remote. They're doing the remote monitoring. They're doing predictive maintenance. They're just looking into this. And at what cost? Very minimal cost. 7 stations and 2 sensors on each of those stations. That's it. And that's the frugal innovation. So with this, I would like to stop, and just with a message that you can learn about these different types of innovation from so many other industries. Industry 4.0 is not about replacing everything with technology. Think about, for your business, with the existing technology, the information that you need, how you can extract that information. That's the most important bit. The information that you need that can help you to take real-time decision, how you can extract. You can extract those information with the same system. You just need to make your system more intelligent. You need to know what data you need to gather. With that, I will stop to take a few more questions. Phil, do I have any question?
You do, Maneesh. Yeah, you've got a few questions here. So the first one is about green lean. So the question is, I hear these days the concept of green lean,
yeah,
but I have always thought that lean was always wants to be green because it's about reducing waste.
Yeah.
I don't see the combination of green and lean. What is your point of view about green lean?
To me, again, I have written quite a few papers on lean and green and the synergies between them. And I see them quite synergistic to each other. The focus of lean has always been to reduce waste. Lean is not all about minimizing inventory. Just be mindful of that. A lot of people relate lean to just-in-time manufacturing. It's not all about minimizing wastes. It's about engaging with your customers, engaging with your suppliers, and then helping to achieve the common goals and common objectives. In this case, if you think about green initiative done in a company, based on our research, we have seen CSR team, sustainability team is working separately on the green initiative. Lean team is working separately on the lean initiative. And it doesn't help them. You're not talking to each other because they both have got the same goal, just like lean and industry 4.0. They are synergistic to each other. If you minimize lean waste, automatically you are helping to make your environment more green. I understand in some cases when you follow just-in-time principle, if you follow just-in-time principle, then you are asking your logistics partner to supply only in just-in-time, then it increases the emission rate. Yes, that is the downside of lean, but as I said, lean is not just about just-in-time manufacturing, it's much more than that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Maneesh. The next question is about the soft side of lean. So the question is, may I please ask what the recent scholarly understanding is around the soft side of lean? And an extension to that question, I think it's the same person has asked if you could recommend any publications on this.
Yeah, sure. I will definitely, if you, what I would do, I will share some of the references with Phil. But I would say that not only the academics, but also the practitioner world where the lean originated, we are all guilty of this. People start blaming lean for everything. It's nothing to do with the lean, is the way we implement lean or is the way we interpret lean. As I said right at the start, if you talk about lean as the efficiency driven management strategy, it's a wrong foot. The central pillar of Toyota production system is employee engagement, respect for employee. That's about the soft practice. When we have done lean in the Western world, we have forgotten the softer side. And that's why, whether it is NHS, whether it is a private organization or public sector, we have struggled to sustain lean momentum because we only focus on the tip of the iceberg, which is about tools, processes. We forget the things which are beneath the iceberg, which is about behavior, engagement, leadership, communication. So you need to balance that technical aspect with the social aspects. And there are several publications, including some of mine, which talk about this soft and hard practices of lean and how do you need to balance both. I will share some of the references after this event.
Thanks very much, Maneesh. And we can pass those on in the follow-up email after this session as well. So we've got two more questions. I think you covered briefly around the role of HR in lean. Yeah. But the question here is, what recent publications can you suggest about the role of HR in lean and digitalization?
Yes. Again, I am not going to sell myself, but unfortunately, there are not many. But I have written a couple of my own papers based on the research that I have done. And I would say that I can share those. But one is a book chapter, which I am very proud of, where we reflected on the whole, how HR is going to play a central role. How do you need to change your recruitment strategy? The recruitment strategy should not be just based on technical skills. It should be more on the softer skills, whether an employee is keen to learn. They have got intrinsic motivation to learn, because in the era of digitization, Industry 4.0, these technologies the list will keep on adding up. It's very difficult to learn all the technologies, but if somebody in your organization, your employee, have got that intrinsic motivation to learn, they will be able to learn all those different tools and techniques. So it's not just you should be recruiting based on technical skills, you need to look into some other skills.
That's really interesting, thank you. Our last question now, which should round things off nicely. What are some of the in lean in the coming years?
Okay. There are so many. I think as I showed in my first slide, where I was talking about my own research, where I am looking into operational excellence. You can call it operational excellence rather than just lean. and how operational excellence can be combined with Industry 4.0, how operational excellence can be combined with the circular economy. Big role. I've got a PhD student who is looking into this topic itself. And the behavioral side is something which is emerging both within research as well as in practice.
Excellent, thank you very much. I think we're running slightly late, a few minutes late, so I think we're going to close the session now. So it's just left to me to say a big thank you to our speaker, Professor Maneesh Kumar, for his interesting insights into this area. Also, thank you very much to the attendees as well for being here this afternoon. And also just to let you know a little bit more about the business school and some of the ways you can interact with Cardiff Business School. So they've got a very active executive education team who run frequent free to attend breakfast briefings covering a range of different topics. So we'd all encourage you to have a look at those, and to those, we'll send you out the link after this session. They also run various accredited and non-accredited courses throughout the year, including things like the Executive MBA. There's a shorter version, the LBA, and also a Masters in Public Leadership as well. Again, we can send you details of those over. The Executive Education have kindly agreed to a discount for some of their courses, such as Lean Six Sigma and the LBA. So we'll send out those discount codes for you. And then finally, we'll be sending out feedback questionnaires at the end of this week. That would very much appreciate it if you could fill in and give us your feedback and thoughts on how you thought the session went. We do carefully read these, and we do look to feed them into future sessions, any feedback that we have. So that's it from me. Thank you very much to Maneesh, and thank you very much to our attendees as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.